What is up, y'all? Doe here. Hope we're doing good. And today we have, honestly, a freaking absolutely busted build because I'm not sure what happened, what changed, but a couple things in this build are crazy. So for the first part, the reason why this build's so good is because we're using the Malkarion axe, which is terminal voltage. And the legendary ability here is you can teleport to a behemoth, dealing shock damage, and it resets on behemoth kill. So this is insanely good because it has a range of 150 meters. That is a really quick travel time, and it deals shock damage, which helps you shock proc behemoths. Now, shock procking a behemoth is whenever they get electrocuted and they basically go into an overpowered state. When a behemoth is in an overpowered state, they take a lot of extra damage if you have the cell overpower, up to 60% damage, I believe. That is insane. So you basically get 4 ways total to initiate overpower. True stagger, interrupting a behemoth, shock procking it, and breaking apart. So normally you get the other 3 methods on most behemoths, but now you get a 4th method. So behemoths can be stun locked just based off using a build like this, one that has a Malkarion weapon or a shock weapon. Those contribute to shock procking behemoths. Now I will say axe is nowhere near the best at procking shock. Instead, a sword or chain blades are better, and you can use this build with whatever weapon you want to. Now for my build, I'm using the axe because it's fun, and I'm doing axe reforging right now to get that level higher and to get my little stat bonus in my Slayer's Path as quick as possible. But I'm also going to be using Grim Onslaught for my special and Overcharged Cylinder for my modifier. Overcharged Cylinder for the axe is super good in hunting grounds. You get 75% damage, and before, one of the reasons why the axe wasn't super great, like it was good but it wasn't super great, is because in fights you had to sort of build up your axe charge and you didn't really get much damage until the end of the fight. Now in hunting grounds, you can build up your axe charge and have that going into all the fights. If you're in there for a while, every single fight you go into, you'll have max charge as long as you don't let it go away. So axe is pretty freaking good in hunting grounds. And as for the bond, I'm using the Thundering Scythe, which is the Drast bond with +3 athletic attunement and plus 30% damage versus behemoth heads. This build's crazy. And there's actually going to be 2 builds, 2 variations, very slight ones though. And for my gear, I'm using the Shroud Helmet, Boreas Chest Piece, Torgador Gloves, and Boreas Feet with the Drask Lantern. For the Lantern, you can use whichever one you really want to. I do highly suggest using either Drask or Mermain, but mostly Drask, and the reason why is because Drask is a Shock Lantern, it does shock damage. That can help with initiating shock procs, and I just like the Lantern a lot. So, yeah, that's why I suggest it. So after everything is forged and your cells are +3, because this is an in-game build, sorry by the way, you'll have a perk summary like this: +6 athletic attunement, Iceborne, Overpower, Rage, Wild Frenzy, with +3 discipline, and you can change sturdy to be, you can change your defense cell at +3 to be either sturdy or tough or parasitic. It's up to you. And that's all she wrote for this build, but a more cracked build will have slightly more attack speed and also give a little bit more of a team play aspect if you want it. So for this, I would sort out the Wild Frenzy in the weapon to be Rage, and then I would change my helmet from Shroud to being Rezakiri, and my chest piece from Boreas to Shroud, and then I would slot in some Wild Frenzy in the helmet and Overpower in the chest piece. This will give me the perk summary of +6 Iceborne, Overpower, Rage, Wild Frenzy. That hasn't changed, but now I have +5, preferably +6 Conduit, and +3 athletic attunement and discipline. The difference between both these builds is giving up +3 athletic attunement and a defense cell to get more attack speed in the form of Conduit, hopefully getting +6, at least +5. And personally, I do think the second variation of this build is better because it has more attack speed, and you're not really going to need sturdy that often in these fights. Especially if you have like a friend that's also running a Malkarion weapon, it's going to be insane. You're just going to shock proc all kinds of stuff. Speaking of that, me and Revy were playing, and we're just doing hunting grounds, having a good time. And Revy's like, yo, I think Malkarion weapon's kind of busted. So we swapped to that. Then out of nowhere, some random person, I think the name was like Zone Shot, they also have it. So we're just teleporting across the map, shocking behemoths instantly. Because if you hit a behemoth with like 3 shock procs or 3 Malkarion abilities, there's a good chance you're going to freaking shock proc it. Sometimes if it's a Terra behemoth, you can shock proc it with just 2 because Terra behemoths are weak to shock. It was just, bro. It was crazy. We were having a great time just teleporting everywhere. The grindage was insane. We were grinding forever. We played for like 4 hours yesterday, just teleporting every which way across the map. Sometimes we get lucky, just teleport back to back to back because we kill behemoth in one spot and the next behemoth was only 150 meters away and we just teleport to it. And speaking of that, another cool part is you can get lucky and get like the last hit on a behemoth with this ability through a freaking wall sometimes and get the XP for it. and it feels pretty good. So personally, I do think Malkarion weapons are probably the best weapon to farm with in the hunting grounds. I'm not saying you should only use this weapon because it's good to play all kinds of things, but I think that if we're going for the fastest levels possible, Malkarion weapons are definitely up there and trying to get you just optimal kill times and speedy XP gains. It is absurd. But, and I do mean a thick but, there is an exception to how good this weapon is, and that is how far the spawns are between behemoths, because some maps have really freaking good spawn rates or spawn locations to make this build even better. So the maps that I suggest going to in hunting grounds would be Restless Sands, which is level 3 to 5, Fortune's Folly, which is level 9 to 12, Undervault's Defile, 13 to 16, and Razor Cliff Isles, 16 to 19. You can go wherever you want to, but these maps are chosen specifically because only one of them has a shock behemoth, and the others mostly have Terra behemoths, which shock weapons are stronger against. So the only one that has a shock behemoth is Restless Sands. It's like the first one. It's not a big deal. Lesser Draft's gonna get clapped all the way up, so it shouldn't be a big issue. But these maps have very good spawn points, like very good. Only sometimes will you have to really run to a behemoth, but most of the time you can kill one, walk a little bit away from it, and then teleport to the next one, and the slaying is just non-freaking stop. Other maps or islands in the hunting grounds are also good for this, or a couple are, but some of them have shock behemoths, so it makes it a little bit less good, which isn't a big deal. But the main thing to look out for maps you want to go to that are different than the ones I suggested is the map sort of circular in nature and sort of spawn points, or like a square, because those are good maps for teleporting to. So basically, look at the distance between the behemoth you're fighting and behemoths that are near it on the mini map, a little compass thing on the top of your screen. That will give you an idea of how far away behemoths are and how good that map is for using this build and sort of this technique of just teleporting across the map with the Malkarion legendary ability. Anyway, y'all, that is the video. Hopefully it helps you in some way. If it does, make sure to drop a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more gaming content. If you'd like to support me in my endeavors, make sure to use credit code OhDough in the Epic Games Store or the in-game Dauntless Store. Helps me out a freaking ton, and I'd appreciate that. Anyway, y'all, I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. +6 AA. So in this build, you go from having +6 Etheric Attunement to being +3. So in this build you're swapping out. So in this build, you're ditching a defense cell and you're getting an extra